soup.
You shouldn't tweet before a pod.
Why not?
Because then you check the results the rest of the pod.
The results? Like it's a...
Well, the likes, the quotes.
My phone just vibrates.
That's literally tracking. Put your goddamn phone on silent.
Okay.
So you're not getting...
It just... Want to hear my tweet, though? It's for the pod.
Okay.
So it makes sense. Black Adam is one of those movies that starts off so bad that you think, well, it can only get better from here. But it just doesn't.
Oh,
yeah.
Burn.
Like, I got it good.
I hope The Rock sees that and quote tweets you. Because he'll do that. He goes at normal people.
Yeah, but...
And then you'll smell what The Rock is cooking.
I love The Rock. I'm a big Rock guy.
Yeah, now all of a sudden you're backtracking.
Hey, I said he should have got nominated for Leg Movie.
That's a little offensive, but... I remember you saying you thought he was going to be nominated, that he was going for the Oscar.
For the Oscar.
Right.
But turns out he might not.
He actually got banned from the Oscars for that movie.
Yeah.
Before Will Smith. Look at that.
We gotta discuss, is The Rock just bad?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Soup Podcast. I am Bo Oliver, joined here today with Aaron the Nerd Soup Monkey, and we are back, like the title says, to talk about whether or not Black Adam changed the hierarchy of the DC universe, and it looks like it has. That's going to be one of the other topics we talk about. It's a DC-packed show, but we'll also be talking some U.S. box office and some Marvel stuff. You know, gotta keep it even, right? You can listen to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, all the nice platforms, Google Podcasts. That's a good one. I don't know if many people use it. And also here on YouTube, we're putting it on the main channel because our fundraiser is still running this month for hurricane relief for Puerto Ricans that are still struggling with power, still struggling to get resources. And it is something that, it's personal for me because I still have family on the island. It's where my family originates from. And it's a problem that they've been having over the last 5 years after Maria and now with Fiona. So if you want to donate, if you want to help out your fellow citizens, consider whatever you can. But anybody who has the means. And yeah, like I said, we have a packed show today. Oh, I guess you could follow us on social media at Bo Soup, at Nerd Soup Monkey, and at Nerd Soup, really on most platforms. Give us a follow. And Aaron, I'm not going to ask you how you're doing because I've been with you for the last 3 hours or so.
Yeah, it was nice. This is like the first time in a while we weren't like straight from theater to the mics.
Yeah, we used to do this a lot back in the day. It's fresh. And yet it feels like I haven't watched it for weeks.
Well, I'm
in the process of deleting it from my memory banks.
Yeah, there was a point during the movie where I was just like, I'm fine with this. I can leave. I took like 3 bathroom breaks.
Were you even going to the bathroom, or were you just
I was thinking about popping into another movie.
Okay.
But every theater was playing Black Adam.
Oh, no. Anybody playing Tar? Is there a Tar showing?
But, yeah, no, it's nice. Straight from the theater to the microphone. It's, like you said, it's fresh.
And yet not fresh.
And yet not fresh. It was a wild, I don't want to say wild experience, but I was expecting a little bit of something. This movie's been teased for so long. Kept getting delayed. Black Adam. Hierarchy of DC. The Rock doing what he's best at, promoting. And, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, 15 years in the making. It's pretty remarkable that he was cast in this role in 2007. And he claims that it's a character he's always liked from when he was a boy, when he would read Black Adam comics. And the character's got an interesting history, introduced as a villain, but over the last few decades has really morphed into this sort of anti-hero, even when he does go up against...
Oh, now the movie makes sense.
Right, not your traditional hero.
Yeah.
Not your traditional cape.
I don't know why they wouldn't, like, present that to the audience, that he's not a hero or a villain. You would think they would sprinkle it in, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe even 10 times. If they did it 10 times, and maybe I would have got the idea.
Right, they stopped it at 9, and at that point I was just unsure of what he was supposed to be. I guess something in the middle. An anti-hero. There we go. I guess we're just circling back.
No, that's the Taylor Swift song.
Is it? Is that on the new album?
Yeah.
I'm not a Taylor Swift fan. I probably would have listened to that album 3 times in a row before watching this again.
It's a good album.
Okay, let's just... Black Adam. It's making money. It's making reasonable money.
Yeah.
I think it's going to start to dip over the next few weeks once the word of mouth starts to spread. I don't know. Based on that
90%
fan score,
audience score.
Yeah, the audience score. The Rock does that all the time. Whenever it's a good critic score, that's all you see all over his Instagram. When the critic score's bad and the audience score's high, he's like, "Wow, thank you so much."
That's
I make movies
what the movie's for. The fans like me and you
I always say Hollywood hasn't figured out how to use The Rock, but now I think The Rock is starting to lean into. It's the Jay-Z line, he's not a businessman, he's just a business at this point. It's just how many products can I sell, engage with my followers with different things how many products can I sell, how many tickets can I sell. It's just, it's no longer about the quality, it's just a big marketing scheme. And this was just a 2-hour trailer for what's to come in the DC universe. We just got the news about James Gunn is going to be co-CEO of DC Films. I forget the other guy's name. And then the post-credit scene that they've been openly marketing throughout their press tour, that Superman is coming back. It's one of the worst kept secrets right now in Hollywood.
I think the worst thing they've done to Henry Cavill and Superman is have his return be in this movie.
It's perfect, actually.
So disrespectful.
It fits perfectly with how they've treated Henry Cavill and Superman.
I mean, that was the best.
Even though he's not a Superman villain, it probably should have been Shazam, because now all of a sudden Waller and Superman are on a phone call basis.
You wouldn't even, well, obviously because of Shazam, that's the word he has to say, but it's totally separate. Yeah, Superman, even though I knew it was coming, was like the only excitement I've had in this movie. And like a normal person, I was just like, oh, that's cool, and walked out. I didn't make a huge scene and have my friends film it, which...
But you did yelp after Infinity War when the Jets drafted Sam Darnold, so that could be worse.
Maybe. But...
we were all just marinating in the credits, and you just, yippee!
I was like Anakin when he's flipping around. That worked out wonderfully, though. And I did clap. Well, it was a small clap, but when they had that shot of The Rock from that meme of him,
right, yeah, the famous meme that's been going around the internet
for like the past day.
That was funny.
One. Yeah. But yeah, let's talk about the movie.
Let's talk about it. 2600 BC, the tyrannical king Kondak Aktun creates the crown of Sabak.
Prologue, one of the worst things I think was so poorly done.
This is a superhero trope.
Yeah.
Backstory,
but
prologue.
Every time they try to go into the exposition, and it was so packed with exposition, this movie, and the dialogue was so poorly written that it was hard not to be like, to take yourself out of it, be like, what am I watching here? The acting, there's not one good performance in this entire film, and it's hard to do with this writing. Pierce Brosnan, maybe, but even he wasn't great. I just thought Dr. Fate was cool, and that was probably my favorite part of the movie. Some of the worst editing I've seen. Not only visually, but audio as well. There are certain times, especially with the kid, who is god-awful, where what he's saying does not match at all. And they try to hide his face when they do it, and you can just tell that it's put in after the fact. And there's one scene that's been going around Twitter, but it takes place throughout the whole movie, where just the cuts are so awkward and jarring, and they flip perspective, and it's just weird. Action sequences, sometimes it's cool, but they overdo the slow-mo to a nauseating degree. And there was just no fun, no excitement, no heart, no nothing. Just bland-ass, cliche-ridden superhero movie.
Anti-hero movie. I don't know how this studio in particular can continue releasing so many bland movies, especially when you're sitting on a mountain of source material. There are so many stories that you can pick from, but it's so by the numbers, so cliche. Even the way they tried to set up the modern Kondak. There are these foreign invaders. Those themes were so poorly developed. Not even poorly developed. It's just all out there in the open. They're just speaking the problems rather than just showing them.
Well, we both laughed at that scene when the kids. What did you say? You probably
it's like you're a neo-imperialistic invader who's trying to take our resources. And then I looked over to you. I was like, does this happen in the real world?
That's a perfect example of something that
it does.
Yeah, like obviously, like what he's saying is right, and like that's cool and all, but like,
but it's so lazy,
so ill presented, where it just threw it all out there for this moment, and it's just like.
But we also get it.
Yeah,
they're flying around in fucking scooters.
Construct those themes in a way that like makes sense to the story and relates to this area's history of being enslaved in the past, and kind of do something creative and cool to kind of connect those dots and show time went on, but you know, the same institutions have stayed in place. Is that too much for a comic book movie? It shouldn't be.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
There are clever ways to go about it.
Right, I think the idea it's a strong idea. It could have been very interesting if executed better. Having the setting, like you said, where they were enslaved all this time ago, and this is sort of a modern day form of slavery because they are being subjugated to these foreign rulers, but it doesn't develop the characters. It's just not great characterization. So the settings, the issues, the problems, It doesn't feel like they're actually impacting the main characters of the story.
Well, there's no cohesion with any of the characters as well. A great example of this is the Justice Society of America, or just the Justice Society.
For short. They were terrible.
Like, they had no chemistry whatsoever. And I
Atom
guess
Smasher was my least favorite.
Well, they're just throwing together the team, they say, in the beginning. But, like, that's what the vibe it gives. Like, oh, we're just kind of throwing over this ragtag team, so maybe it makes sense they don't have chemistry. But then they act like they do have chemistry. And they have a past, and it's just so awkward. No one, even the one that's supposed to have a past and relationship with Dr. Fate and Hawkman is just so bad. Aldous Hodge, good actor, just not good in here. The lines he had of the me and you on the ship, like how many...
Me and you.
Just falling flat.
But Atom Smasher, the way they tried to make him comic relief.
Terrible.
I wanted him so badly to die.
And even the comic relief of Black Adam, trying to make him like this Drax character. In the beginning, well, like Guardians 1 Drax, where he's still a badass, but like he still doesn't get it.
Yeah, fish out of water.
Yeah.
He's been asleep for all these years, but you see all those jokes coming a mile away.
And he's just not good. The Rock's at his best when you can allow him to use his charisma, because he's highly charismatic. When you strip that all away from him, there's just nothing left.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think a director who made a movie that's so poorly edited, so poorly written, some of the action sequences, it's almost impossible to tell what's going on. The action isn't smooth whatsoever. I don't expect him to pull the best performance out of The Rock. And I wonder if The Rock has become too big to direct. I'm pretty sure this is a director that he has worked with in the past. On some not so great movies, most recently Jungle Cruise. And even in Jungle Cruise, he's supposed to be a bit warmer, a bit cheeky, witty, and it's not a great performance. And here you think that you can, lean into some of his strengths, just be the smoldering badass, but it's so cheesy. It's never convincing that he is Black Adam. And I hate to say it, the only convincing part of it is that his physique is unbelievable and he's just huge. He looks like a superhero. But like I said, the humor is cliche. There's no great characterization. There's no story progression. So when he has his hero moment, like I said, you just feel nothing. You're not inspired. You're not glued to the TV because you can't take your eyes off of the incredible action. I thought that the action was going to be much better.
Me too.
So, I mean, his performance is just so one note. People keep making this joke, making the same exact facial expression throughout the movie. And he's a little bit softer when he's with the kid because he reminds him of his son.
I'm starting a petition to ban child actors. Let's, as a society, all agree that an adult can play a child, and we'll just pretend. Because
the kid from Dear Evan Hansen?
Ben Platt?
Ben Platt, Ben Platt could have been this kid. Maybe it would have been a little better.
No, there are plenty of great child actors, but it's just so jarring, and it just sticks out when you have such a bad child actor play such a prominent role in a movie that...
But once again, it goes back to directing. He's not pulling good performance. I mean, he's got Pierce Brosnan. And I thought he was a good casting for Dr. Fate. And I'd like to see him maybe in another movie. I guess not anymore.
Aldous Hodge is a cool-ass Hawkman.
Right.
That's fucking awesome.
And he's not getting any good performances out of the adults. The kid is just set up to fail.
I feel bad. I do feel bad.
He's like Anakin. There we go. 2 Anakin references.
Yeah. I'll make a third.
Right, but him and his mother, their involvement in the storyline, it was just so unnecessary. It was all just plot device after plot device. Like I said, so by the numbers.
You know who I actually liked? What's her name?
Cyclone?
Yeah.
The forced romance between Cyclone and Atom Smasher was cringy as fuck.
I liked her power scenes, and I thought it looked really nice.
Yeah, the way they visualized her powers was cool.
But a lot of times they went with the slow-mo and the action. I think it was too much. Like, when he slows down, the first time we see Black Adam in the cave, I thought that was very sloppily done. But then when he gets out, and he kind of slows down, I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. You're seeing it in his eyes and the way he's doing it, but he's just kind of just floating there, and there's nothing smooth about it. There's nothing that like really blows your mind in terms of like a action sequence that you've never seen before with someone with this much power. Hell, like even with the Flash and both Justice League variations, I thought there were some cool moments with him that were, you just took, it was like, oh, I had fun watching that. I never had any moment where Black Adam did something that was like, maybe when he split the devil in half. But other than that, like nothing really blew me away or excited me. Terrible musical cues. If I was the Rolling Stones...
That one cue for Power was horrible, but that was a bad one too.
Yeah, I mean, Painted Black, that's the song you play in the trailer, because you're like, oh, Black Adam, that's fun. You don't put it in the movie. You just don't. And then don't edit it. It's already a good song. If I was Mick Jagger, I would sue.
I'm sure he is.
Yeah.
They seem like the suing type. Yeah, and the other music cue when
if I was Kanye, I would count your blessings. This is probably the last time your song's going to be used in a movie.
Just getting a nice royalty. This is the last leg he's standing on. I just had to burst out laughing because of all the controversy.
He's able to feed himself off of that Black Adam residuals for Power.
They're game planning how they're going to approach this. And Adam Smasher's like, Teddy just texted me, so what did Kanye say? And Adam Smasher's like, oh, looks like he got a head start, or whatever the hell he said. And I'm like, huh? It just pans, and he's just destroying things, and you can't even make out what he's doing. It's like, oh, I guess Black Adam left the ship. He got a head start here.
I think there were like 3 different times.
Look at him. He's unruly.
When they went in with a plan that they didn't they didn't tell you what the plan was.
Well, their plan, too. I mean, I guess, I don't know if the writers, this is what they were addressing. I'm not going to give them credit. That Black Adam, he's so destructive. We need to take him down by destroying the city. We're just going to show up and crash into buildings, and Adam Smasher has no idea how to use his powers.
It's a metaphor.
Right, that even the foreign invaders, right, they don't care either. Which could have been interesting if it was better written.
And they spoil one of the... yeah, I was going to say... I don't know why it jumped to my mind, but they spoil one of like the bigger twists of the movies in the trailer.
Right, that it wasn't him who was chosen, it was his son. That was hilarious, when his son transferred over the power and then he got snipped with an arrow, just immediately. And the narration, but he couldn't survive. The king's assassins. Like it was being narrated by someone who was freestyling a movie, right? Well, what's his origin story?
I was shocked the beginning narration, the exposition dump, was so poorly narrated. I'm like, you can re-record that.
Oh, yeah, it was like, and the king wanted to be a tyrant, so he became a tyrant. Should have got one of the English dudes from the History Channel. Or Pierce Brosnan, right? He's supposed to be Dr. Fate. He's supposed to know the future and the past and whatever. That would have been cool.
Yeah. What else was terrible? Oh, when the devil man comes and the radar picks up a demon.
They delivered that line so seriously. Radar's picking up, it's a demon. Savick. They got this guy on file. Which is something that, because the Justice Society seems like they've been around the block, that they know about supernatural threats and otherworldly threats. But if we were just introduced to them, for them to be taking this problem so seriously without having their own development was a little ridiculous, I guess, in the moment.
Yeah, no, it's so much,
like, who are these people?
Much to squeeze into 2 hours. It's impossible. One of the worst villain CGIs I've ever seen also.
Yeah.
That looked
Ran
terrible.
out of budget there. What's the point? I'll never understand that. Just go practical. Why not go practical? Just make him look like a devil man. Just make him scary. People in these studios, they're always afraid to take the cheaper route. It's like, oh, it needs to be a CGI villain. For what reason? And he was super lame and underdeveloped as a character. That could have also been an interesting perspective on things. You're not going to get a liberator. You're going to get a tyrant. But it's so underdeveloped, so there's no triumphant moment for Black Adam there at the end.
I do like how, like...
And I'll tell you... Sorry to cut you off, but the lack of story progression here, no scene builds on the previous scene whatsoever. It is just a plateau. And the action moments are just so haphazardly thrown together that they're not fun to watch. But the actual story, the way that it plays out from beginning to end, is an absolute dud.
I feel like there's a 10-minute beginning, a 10-minute end, and in the middle, there's just no acts.
Well, they did 2 sequences in which the Justice Society fights Black Adam. They fight him, they take some time off, and then they just went back to fighting him. No, they were they take some time off.
They were just like pause, time out, and fight.
It was like, wait.
Extended for like most of the time they were together.
That was just the movie. Yeah. Like, Black Adam, you need to surrender. He's like, no.
All right, let's take a break. Let's figure it out. It's like, oh, let's fight again.
Well, I guess we can work together here because it looks like somebody else is trying to do something bad. Oh, okay. Shout out to Harcourt getting that nice cameo money. You missed that because you went to the bathroom. Yeah, she comes out and she's like, Waller says thank you.
Shout out to Viola Davis for collecting fucking cash from DC Warner Brothers for sitting in front of a webcam.
Yeah, incredible.
Peacemaker did the same thing, just making money. Good for you.
Suicide Squad?
Yeah.
A lot in a webcam, but some in a room, so she had to get off her feet for that one.
She's not doing much.
No. Yeah, that's awesome.
And she's just collecting the money. And you know they're not asking her to do a second take. They didn't even ask any of these other actors to do a second take. And Viola Davis's one take on her webcam is better than anything other performance in the movie.
That is a really funny point. Yeah, no, the movie really sucks. I mean,
Henry Cavill, though. That's cool.
You want to just sort of transition into that topic? That was number 2 on our list.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Henry Cavill is back as Superman in this post-credit scene, and he will be returning, I guess, in a Man of Steel 2. That hasn't been officially announced, but on his Instagram, he broke the news after it was spoiled all over the internet. Henry Cavill is back as Superman. What the hell?
This was one that, I knew about the post-credit scene before I saw the movie, so I knew Superman was coming back. But then this news came and kind of just spoiled it. Not spoiled it, but they kind of just didn't let that marinate, huh?
They wanted people to come out and see this fucking movie.
Like, the movie wasn't out for a weekend. They already announced it. Look, I think Henry Cavill as Superman, we've wanted to see him back for a long time. I wish things were more stable over there and they had a plan for him and we didn't even have to have this extended break. But, you know, it's better late than never. And I think when you talk about the DCEU as a whole, even if you don't really like the movies he's been in as that character, I think a lot of people have still wanted to see him get like a fair shake at it and give it another go. And seems like what we're getting. Coolest moment of this movie, which is to see Henry Cavill in that suit again, and not a fucking silhouette like at the end of Peacemaker. To actually see his face or half his body like in Shazam. It's so funny that in Shazam they couldn't even get him. They just had some guy in a suit, and then Black Adam's the one who brings him out.
Yeah,
that's the power of The Rock, baby.
Power of The Rock, and they set that up years ago.
Zach Levi ain't pulling no strings.
No, maybe if it was John Cena, and that was the post years ago on their Instagram of The Rock and Henry Cavill sitting down together and talking about their plans to have Superman and Black Adam fight on the big screen.
That's cool. One of my favorite animated, I don't even think it's a full feature animated film. I think it might be a short, but it's Shazam and Superman versus Black Adam. Like, I like Black Adam as a character. Shazam is one of my favorite characters from a lot of the animated movies I watch, and obviously Superman's Superman. So going into Black Adam, hearing about Shazam and Black Adam being made, like, got me super excited, and that's the first thing I thought of. And if they can replicate something like that, then I'm all for it. Even though I didn't like this movie, I still would like to see The Rock back in this role and kind of get another go at it, but hopefully with just a better script and better filmmakers surrounding the project. Because I think it can be salvaged. So
yeah, and it's upsetting that there isn't better continuity in this DC film universe. So a moment like that would well, I don't even know why that would matter. I guess it's just, I'm confused as to why Waller and Superman have a relationship, but that's whatever. I'm just going to have to take their word for it that they know each other now, even though the last time we saw Superman, he was resurrected. I don't even know which Justice League movie is is canon.
Well, if you want to talk about canon, I guess Peacemaker, Waller did send the Justice League.
That is true.
So it seems like she has...
Also, wasn't she arrested at the end of Peacemaker? There's a big scandal. Whatever.
I don't know if she's a war criminal or, like, president.
Well, sometimes you can be both.
Yeah, that's true.
She's American Mycroft Holmes.
But, like, in so many, like, especially comics and the animated movies, like, she's very much, like, she's a bad guy. But she's presented, like, as kind of good in some and kind of bad.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like Black Adam.
Right.
Like the wow.
It hasn't been confirmed, but I imagine they're going to do a Man of Steel 2. I wouldn't be surprised if there's another team-up movie announced. That would be hilarious if they bring back Superman. It's just for another team-up where it's not his own movie.
At least just give me, if it's Shazam and Superman and Black Adam, that's it. Like, that would be fine, I guess.
Right, so it could come out and it could be terrible, and then Henry Cavill never gets a second solo movie as Superman. I know the rumors were Christopher McQuarrie, who's done the Mission Impossible movies, the last two now, and he's got the new one on the way. I think that would be an interesting choice. He's obviously shown a great skill for action.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, and he's worked with Henry Cavill, so they do have a relationship. Some would say he got the probably best performance of Cavill's career. So I think it could be interesting, an interesting pairing for a Man of Steel too. And like I said, with Black Adam, there's just mountains of source material that you can pick from, especially for a fucking Superman story. Am I confident that they're going to get it right? No, but at least I'm happy that Henry Cavill is coming back because he loves the character and fans love him as Superman.
We talk about this a lot, people, and our complaints too about Marvel and it being cookie cutter and all feeling the same. But we also talked about how that's a benefit because when you look over at DC, right now in my head, thinking of a Man of Steel 2 with that Snyder vision and what we got with that, like that doesn't exist to me in this universe of Shazam and Black Adam and any other movie that's around it. It's just so out of place. It's not the same tone. It's not the same, it just feels so different and foreign from it. It's like trying to picture Robert Pattinson's Batman interacting with any of these characters. It just doesn't feel right. And I feel like for Superman, obviously it felt like that with Justice League because it was Zack Snyder, so it had the same kind of vision for that character. The more I think about it, like that Superman with Billy Batson just doesn't make sense in my head for some reason.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And that's why I think you need to just do a Superman story, Superman, Lois, establish some of these Superman characters who haven't been killed off already. Give him one of his great villains and just let him go up against Brainiac or the Toyman or even at this point Lex Luthor. I guess that would still be Jesse Eisenberg. But in between the Superman movies, Cavill has done such a great job of keeping himself relevant, taking on good roles. I think he's carved out a nice career for himself where he's understood I don't always have to be the leading man. And when he is the leading man, he does a really good job, even if they're not the most beloved shows. I think The Witcher has a lot of fans, but he's good in The Witcher. He's one of the best parts of it. And he was great in the Mission Impossible, even taking on a supporting role as Sherlock Holmes in the Enola Holmes movies.
He is very good as Sherlock Holmes, by the way.
No, he's very convincing in that role.
Relative to other Henry Cavills, not relative to every other Sherlock Holmes.
No, I would agree.
Those movies are, I mean, just the one is in a sequel coming out. Enola Holmes was delightful. I mean, people don't talk about that enough.
Yeah, I think there's a reason for that.
It's a delightful film.
Mycroft was such a dick in that first movie. Not my hashtag not my Mycroft. All right, well, before we move on to the next topic and get on to the second half of this podcast, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Smile Brilliant. If you're like me, you're confused by all the variations of teeth whitening on the market. Items like LED lights, whitening strips, charcoal, and whitening toothpaste might sound good in theory, but they don't fully get the job done, like Smile Brilliant's custom-fitted whitening trays. LED lights will accelerate the process, but they won't make your teeth whiter, and could lead to more teeth sensitivity. Whitening strips totally neglect gum lines, crevices, and molars. They work, but your remaining stains will become more prominent. Charcoal is abrasive and wears down the enamel, while whitening toothpaste only works on surface stains. But with one of Smile Brilliant's custom-fitted whitening trays, you can brighten your smile without worrying about damaging your teeth or leaving behind any noticeable stains. Historically, whitening trays were only dispensed by dentists at a price of $300 to $1,000. That's a lot of money. But that all changed when Smile Brilliant came up with their innovative Lab Direct process that is not only less expensive, but more effective in achieving the picture-perfect smile we all crave. And right now, you can visit smilebrilliant.com by visiting the link in our description box below and use promo code NERDSOUP to save 20% off all products, including their custom-fitted teeth whitening trays or custom-fitted night guards. If you're someone like me who struggles with grinding in your sleep, using a night guard at night has really released a lot of that tension that I've been building up. My jaw feels so much better. Got to take care of it, you know? This is my job. I have to speak. So that involves taking care of your teeth. They also have a great selection of professional oral care products, such as electric toothbrushes, water flosser, dental probiotics, and much more. And remember, that's promo code NERDSOUP for 20% off all products. So don't wait. Click that link and take care of your teeth. All right, and we have one more DC topic to talk about, and that was the news. This broke literally right before we sat down to watch Black Adam. So haven't done too much research on it, but it was announced that James Gunn and fellow Warner Brothers producer Peter Safran have been tapped to lead DC's film, TV, and animation efforts as co-chairmen and co-CEOs, and it's being rebranded as DC Studios. It's a newly formed division at Warner Brothers, which will replace DC Films. I guess it is a bit unprecedented to tap a director/writer to run one of your film divisions. Nothing's really coming to mind. So this could be, I guess, a little bit historic, and James Gunn is somebody who's shown the knowledge of not only Marvel but of DC as well. So maybe he will be the best person to guide them in their efforts to build out their cinematic universe, if that's the direction they're still going, or just building out a slate of good DC products, good DC films. So it's, like I said, it is unprecedented, but I guess I do like the move for DC.
Now, does this encapsulate Joker and Batman and projects like that? Because I feel like those were separate divisions. Or to me, it just felt that way. I mean, James Gunn, I think, is very talented. I think is he divisive because of his directing style, or just because people just don't like it in terms of what he did in like the
pedophile tweets?
No, his style within DC. It's like the DC fans that don't like James Gunn don't like him because they kind of quote unquote brought that Marvel-ness to DC, or they just don't like him as a director as a whole.
I think it's a combination of both, maybe.
Because I think he's very talented and I like his style a lot. Guardians are probably some of my favorite characters in the MCU. I really enjoyed Peacemaker. And by the way, I don't think that's a valid statement, because I mean, the shit he was able to get away with on Peacemaker never would have flew over at Disney. And I think he's more than just what he showed in those two projects as a filmmaker. So I think he's very versatile in that regard. It just so happens that his most popular projects are those ones we can point to with those kind of sensibilities about them. But yeah, it's interesting. Because, I mean, Feige, as a producer or a CEO, right, I think one of the strongest abilities that can make you successful at that position is be able to take in other styles, other filmmakers, other voices, other opinions, and kind of work that in with your own to kind of try to make a collaborative effort. Someone who's a filmmaker like James Gunn, I think there has to be he has to have the ability to not put his style and let it show through every type of project that is under him. And I don't think he will, but
yeah, because I think occasionally he will be directing a few of these movies.
Executive producing probably all of them. So I feel like it's hard if it's his voice and everything that with such a prominent style of filmmaking or, you know, experience with it, that it could maybe be a clash of heads or kind of just get that throughout everything.
Well, the co-chairman, Peter Safran, has been on board with some of these DC movies since Aquaman. So he's produced Aquaman, Shazam, The Suicide Squad. He will be producing Blue Beetle, Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom, and Shazam 2. So hit or miss, but The Suicide Squad is, I guess, my favorite DCEU film so far. A lot of people loved Aquaman, and I like Shazam, so the back half has been better when you compare where they started.
I feel like I hate Aquaman. Shazam, I mean, Man of Steel, Wonder Woman, I like a lot. 1984, didn't like. And The Suicide Squad, I liked, so.
Right, so I guess when Gunn is directing, he's going to be doing more of the producing when Gunn is busy. But I definitely think, and that's where people get frustrated with Marvel, where everything has to fall under the tonal umbrella. DC's going to have more freedom to pick different directors with different styles that match the characters that they're producing movies about. That's where maybe the benefit of having James Gunn there, because he has relationships with directors. He's just not their typical suit who graduated from some business school. He'll know, oh, okay, I got a buddy that could understand this character, and he's a good filmmaker. I know writers. Well, he's got these relationships.
Yeah, that could be the benefit. He knows studio pressure, so now that I'm running the show, I'm gonna let my filmmakers do what they want. And I think that's when DC's been most successful, is when their directors were able to do what they wanted. And I think he's smart enough to be like, Matt Reeves, do whatever the fuck you want with the Batman. I trust you.
So on this article Todd Phillips, I was just skimming, won't fall under that umbrella. So, and it's unclear if the Matt Reeves movies will.
I'm sure Matt Reeves is just...
Well, it looks like Matt Reeves
do whatever you want over there.
Yeah, and he seems to be in a position where he's almost like the James Gunn of the Batman universe. There was a recent report that he's looking for other writers and directors to take on some spin-off projects for some of these Batman villains. So if they're going to keep that Batman universe as a pocket universe and they'll let James Gunn do his own thing, that could work out really well. Batman is a character, even in the comics, who does the best when he's on his own, like even though you'd love to see him in a team-up.
And it's like a team respecting their coach who played before.
Exactly.
It's like, you know what the deal is, you've been there, I've done that, and so it's easier for both to know where they're coming from. I don't hate it. It's something that, like I said, I do like James Gunn's films. I'm a fan of his work. Maybe Guardians 2 could have been a little better. But I really enjoyed Peacemaker, and yeah, I think it was a little bit of surprising news, but he seems to have a good relationship with Warner Brothers. So, you know, when he did get canned from Disney, they came and scooped him up.
That's the best thing that ever happened to him.
Yeah.
He got canceled up. All right, let's do a quick recap of U.S. weekend box office. Black Adam came in at number 1 with...
I missed weekend box office.
Yeah, look at this. $67 million domestically for a worldwide total so far of $147 million. That's against a $200 million budget, so let's see how much money that movie makes. Number 2 was the big surprise, the rom-com led by George Clooney and Julia Roberts, Ticket to Paradise. That is Julia Roberts in that, right?
Mm-hmm. Big old movie.
Yeah, $16 million at the domestic box office. Worldwide, it's already close to $100 million, and that's against a $60 million budget. So bring out the legends if you want to revive the rom-com drama, right? Number 3, Smile. It's been another big success for Paramount, I guess. Look at that. $8 million at the domestic box office. Worldwide, it's made $167 million against a $17 million budget.
The campaign for that with the creepy people at the sports games.
Brilliant. Why aren't there more smart people in Hollywood?
Brilliant.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's how we should have brought that in.
Free ad.
Look at that. Yeah, 2-for-1 special. There you go. Yeah, so that's been really impressive. Number 4 was Halloween Ends with $8 million, and that is down 80% from last week, but worldwide it's made $82 million against a $33 million budget.
And it's on Peacock.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah, I won't. I'm not gonna watch that.
You don't want to see how Halloween ends?
I was that's my least favorite type of movie, Halloween. And the first one I thought was terrible. I didn't watch the second one. I'm out on this franchise.
Yeah, it was worse.
Yeah.
And number 5 was Lyle Crocodile with $4 million. So it's trying to break even. $50 million budget worldwide. It's at $37 million. But I guess they're pushing Black Adam as the highest grossing weekend for Dwayne Johnson as a leading man. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, The Rock makes money. So, like, that's not a shock. And
you think that's how he pitches every movie to studios?
DC
whiteboard, The Rock makes money.
That's how he said it, third person. Yeah, obviously DC projects, superhero stuff. Like, I didn't think it was going to flop at all. I thought it was going to make a decent amount of money, so this is not surprising to me. And especially with all the Superman stuff and pretty much everyone knowing those leaks, I think that's getting some more people to the theater. Maybe, I don't think a considerable amount, because they basically just came out with the news and the pictures are everywhere. So if that's all you really want out of this, then you already got it. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know if it's gonna break any records. What's the highest DCEU movie? Would it be Man of Steel?
No,
Wonder Woman, obviously. Yeah.
No, it's Aquaman.
Oh yeah, that's right. Aquaman made a shit ton of money.
Yeah,
that's right. Why?
1.4 billion.
That's right.
1.14 billion.
Then Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to look up.
Well, it's not reaching $1 billion. I can tell you that much.
Oh, this? Yeah, no way.
But I think it can make more than the original Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad might make more than BVS. That only made like 6 something, right?
No, it was like 800.
Oh.
I think as of right now, I'm pretty sure Aquaman's the only one to gross over $1 billion. And number 2, I think, is Batman v Superman. Yeah.
Really? Which one? Oh, Justice League flopped, right?
Yeah. Suicide Squad didn't do great because of the dual release. Same thing with Wonder Woman 2. Justice League, I think, made 500, maybe 600 worldwide. And Wonder Woman was just a touch under 800.
I think it could be Justice League then.
It is disappointing that this wasn't better, but maybe if James Gunn was in charge, well, maybe now that James Gunn is in charge, Black Adam 2 is going to have a better writer and director. But the thing with The Rock is that he brings in a lot of his own people, and he does work with the same writers and directors. Because of his production company, he gets so much creative power because of him being The Rock, and I wonder if that is hurting him. Because it's not like, oh yeah, we'll do your Black Adam movie. And credit to him, he stuck with it. He had there was no reason for him to stick with this for 15 fucking years. This truly is the biggest passion project ever made.
Well, with The Rock, it depends what he wants out of it. If he just wants to be the biggest movie star in the world, make as much money as he can, and just leave that as his legacy, keep doing what you're doing, because you're doing great.
But that shit doesn't last, man. You know what's going to last? Rambo. Terminator.
Well, I was going to say,
Predator.
If he wants to make his stamp in acting... Like,
it's not even acting. It's like, what's your iconic...
Be in a great movie or a great thing. Like, he needs to check some of his ego at the door. Maybe work with better filmmakers. Take a less starring role. Play a villain. Don't put in your contract that you can lose a fight.
They can't, yeah.
Like, be a bad guy and like play this... Do something that maybe won't make a ton of money. Look at Dave Bautista. He had like a 10-year, 15-year head start on Dave Bautista. Dave Bautista's filmography is already better than The Rock's. Well, maybe not the biggest roles. Like, The Rock would never play that role in Dune. He would never be the fourth Guardian of the Galaxy.
Right. Well, I do think they have...
He wouldn't be Glasses Guy in Blade Runner.
They have different talents.
Yeah.
So you can also say Dave Bautista will never lead Jumanji because Hollywood won't let him. But I think Dave Bautista's done...
Let Stuber.
Right. He'll lead. He's occasionally led movies that aren't going to be huge successes. And I think he realized, oh, it's way better if I take on more supporting roles, and maybe the occasional perfect lead role for me will come around. But with The Rock, his strengths as a wrestler, it's not that they don't translate to the screen. It's no one's allowed him to play that character on the screen except in the Fast and Furious movies. That first 5 where he's just guns and blood and guts and the American way. He's ridiculous. The ridiculous cop man who is a heel, but he's also got this heart of gold. And he's got morals that he stands on. That was the perfect role for The Rock. But he's always taking on these roles that don't play to his strengths.
Well,
so some of it's on him.
Take John Cena, for instance. He's Peacemaker. Who's The Rock?
Well, I think John Cena,
sure,
that's
shit
a
isn't
role
Black Adam for me right now. Maybe if he has a more better go of it things in the sequel. But
and you have to factor in, how did John Cena get that role? Because somebody thought he would be good for it.
Yeah.
You can commend The Rock for sticking with the Black Adam project for this many years, but maybe that's not the best character for him to play, or the idea in his head of how to play that character wasn't beneficial to making a good movie or making a lasting impact. Because it just feels like he's, oh, I have to be mysterious, an anti-hero, and gritty. So I'm going to put on this gritty face the whole time.
Like, he doesn't have that iconic role.
Oh, no, he doesn't.
Yeah.
No, he's just The Rock. That's why when Teddy said I can't take him seriously in that costume, it's because you're just watching The Rock fly around.
Yeah.
He's just flying.
Like...
But there's no avenue for this character to have some of that wit or that edge to him like he had when he was in WWE, or like sometimes when he's in the Fast and Furious movies. There's no avenue for that. You can direct him into a good performance, but then the director's not that great, and he doesn't have this incredible track record. So it's not a recipe for success. But box office success is totally different, you know. Like we said, the fan scores are high. A lot of people may be enjoying this. But we're going to move on to fan questions here, so this podcast doesn't run too long.
I want to do a fun new segment before fan questions, though. It's like, let the Twitter followers review the movie. I was reading the replies, and this is actually a pretty funny review. Alex Posniak, a third of that movie is in slow-mo. Most of the slow-mo is unnecessary, and don't get me started on that annoying kid or the soundtrack. Couldn't agree more. And then Josh Clark says, and this made me laugh, dude, whoever made this movie thinks skateboarding is way cooler than it actually is. That part was wild. They did think that kid was the coolest fucking thing since Sliced Bread wasn't cool, right? Coolest thing since Parachute Pants.
Okay.
When he was skateboarding.
Don't let them hear that in the sequel. He's going to be skateboarding around with parachute pants. Alright guys, before we move on to fan questions, I want to give a quick shout out to one of our sponsors for today's episode. Go deeper into the canals of Numenor, the mines of Khazad-dûm, and more with the official The Lord of the Rings of Power podcast. Host Felicia Day and several special guests provide an inside look at the groundbreaking series and what it took to bring this version of Middle-earth to life. As many of you well know, as we've often discussed on this podcast, The Rings of Power was the most expensive television production than ever. So there's so much to discuss as it pertains to the special effects, the settings, the practical effects, costuming, makeup, all of those behind-the-scenes goodies that nerds like myself absolutely adore. Each episode of the official podcast features exclusive interviews with the series showrunners, J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay, including the very first full breakdown of that explosive season finale, which had plot twists galore and exciting reveals that sets up an intriguing Season 2. Felicia also goes behind the scenes with the cast and crew to bring you jaw-dropping stories and Easter eggs you don't want to miss. So watch The Rings of Power on Prime Video and listen to all 8 episodes of the official The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power podcast for free on Amazon Music. Download the Amazon Music app now, and you can start listening today. All right, let's move on to fan questions. Hit that music.
That's for the fan to decide.
Yay! People, you call up to the show, you better be ready. That's what you're supposed to do. Sitting there arguing and you're trying to spell your name and all of this other stuff. It's not your show, it's my show. I'm giving you the opportunity to speak your mind. Don't call up here unless you got something to say.
This question here from _CocoNat. Why do you think filmmakers like George Lucas and Peter Jackson suck at prequels? I think in both cases, George Lucas, the first go-around, had a great team around him. One of the best video essays out there is how Star Wars was saved in the edit. All the problems they had during production, it was literally saved in post-production. A lot of it attributed to his wife, Marcia Lucas, who I don't even think she's credited on the film. Then he came back with the prequels and he was surrounded by yes men. Nobody was in his ear telling him, hey, this kind of sucks. Even when you watch the Phantom Menace documentary, you can see it. They're all afraid to challenge him because at that point, he's like nerd Shakespeare, right? What the hell are you going to tell George Lucas?
Because you bring Spielberg to the set, right?
Yeah.
Shows him the clones, like, well, these are kind of like the stormtroopers of the prequel.
Yep.
So I'm like, oh, neat.
Yeah, Spielberg was feeling it. But he tried to get Spielberg directed. He said, hell no, I ain't directing this. I see these Star Wars freaks. I know how they're going to react if I fuck it up. And with Peter Jackson, it was just something that shouldn't have been made. It was taking one book, stretching it out into 3. Pure money grab. I remember Guillermo del Toro was attached to directing a Hobbit movie, and it wasn't supposed to be a trilogy. Yeah, it was supposed to just be The Hobbit adaptation. So, I mean, those movies, they're so deliberately slow for no good reason other than stretching out a book into 3 movies.
I think the problem, too, is with prequels. I don't know, Peter Jackson's interesting because it's not an original work, right? Obviously, it's based off of a novel. I think with George Lucas, it's kind of like some of these ideas are better just being vague with no backstory. And then when you try to rationalize some of these things, it just keeps compiling and compiling and compiling. And, you know, at a certain point, some things are just better left unsaid. I mean, midichlorians, but that's such a small part. But it really is just a metaphor for, like, a lot of the problems that the prequels had. Just over-explaining things that might necessarily didn't have to be explained in the first place. And yeah, like you said, stretching out The Hobbit, but also just weird decisions, especially with the VFX and with the orcs and reliance on CGI. Like, that just didn't feel like Peter Jackson. It was probably just easier. Maybe he just didn't want to do that again. It's like, yeah, I'll do 3 movies, but I'm still fucking exhausted from going back to back to back with The Lord of the Rings, that anything I can do to make it easier, I might just do. And Peter Jackson really hasn't... They Shall Not Grow Old is probably one of the better documentaries of late, so you gotta give him credit for that. But film-wise, when's the last time Peter Jackson really got one?
I think his last feature film... I can't even remember what his last feature film is.
I think he was a producer on one of those steampunk movies.
Okay.
And they just used his name.
Right, yeah. Mortal Engines or some shit like that.
Yeah. Shouldn't have done that. Or was that James Cameron?
This question here from Slurms _Mackenzie _42. What would you like to see a prequel of?
Like, in general?
Yeah. I think what could be a fascinating idea, this is what I've said before, it would be a television series of young Logan Roy, how he built his empire. I think you can introduce new characters. It can mirror the way that Fox News was developed in the 90s, the way the political maneuvering that went on behind the scenes in order for them to literally change the laws so opinion news can be something that's legal in the United States, because there are plenty of countries where it's not.
Well, we didn't talk about that, the teaser.
Yeah, it looks like Succession.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't really much there, but I still want all of it. Now.
What are you prepared to do for it?
A lot of things.
Okay.
That'd make a nun blush. And burst into flames. A prequel. I don't know. Enola Holmes.
Enola Holmes?
What was her, what was Sherlock doing before this? How did he become Sherlock?
Probably solving cases like Hounds of Baskerville.
Yeah, that's true. That's a tough one, because I feel like a lot of stories, if told correctly, you don't really need a prequel.
Yeah, that's why I think the Logan Roy one can be fun. He's such a great character as an old man. I'd like to see him in his prime. And I think there's a lot of interesting stuff that you can get into. Like I said, how he shifted the politics.
And that's just so far removed from all the other characters where it can really just stand on its own.
Yeah, right. You can bring in you can have a young Jerry, you can have a young, Frank, right? Frank's the dude who's always betraying him and then he gets hired again. And like I said, you can have the stand-ins like they do with the modern day where they refer to the president and it's clearly Trump, but it's not Trump. So I think that could be interesting, something that I can play around with. I think you made a good point. Sometimes if something's good, you don't really need a prequel.
I feel like the prequel or spin-off only happens when it's like an unexpected character gains traction that you really didn't account for. And you're like, well, wow, now we have this quote-unquote gold mine that we didn't even project, so let's take advantage of it. Agatha. But people liked her for like 2 weeks. Like, let's make a spin-off series.
This question here from KNava12. Does Henry Cavill returning as Superman knock him out of the running to be 007? No, I don't think it does whatsoever. Especially with DC's track record. He could be out of the role next week.
I feel like he's too perfect for that role. That I almost wouldn't want it at this point.
I 100% disagree. I think that's exactly why I want him in the role, because I think he's perfect for it. He's got the perfect demeanor, the perfect look, obviously. Daniel Craig, to me, is the best James Bond, but let's go back to the basics. Tall, dark, handsome, can charm the pants off of anybody.
Yeah, but wouldn't you rather just like an unconventional type Bond? Keep it fresh, change it up a little?
We just did that for 5 movies.
We'll do it again. You just want to go back to the...
Well, I think he's perfect for it. It's the same thing with Superman. Well, you want Jonah Hill as Superman?
No, but maybe like a Daniel Craig Superman.
You sound like what's-his-face in Amadeus. Too many notes. So who do you want as Bond? Idris Elba's never going to happen. At that point, it's
they want a younger
too
Bond.
Long.
And
yeah.
What is it, a 10-year commitment?
They said, yeah, 10-year commitment, somebody in their late 30s.
Damn.
He is 39.
Henry Cavill's 39?
But I like the idea of him adding another iconic Infinity Stone to his gauntlet. Like, yeah, I'm going to be Superman, and I'm going to be Sherlock Holmes, and I'm going to be Geralt. And you know what? I'm also 007, motherfucker.
Who else has been doing that recently? Just packing these crazy-ass roles. I feel like we mentioned that, like, recently.
Pattinson? Not really icons, but just good roles.
No, it wasn't Pattinson. It has to be more superhero-y, I guess. Or someone who's in, like, mad franchises. Was it Cavill? When we were talking about him possibly being House of the Dragon?
I think it was Cavill.
Okay.
Right,
So,
yeah. We were saying, once again, bring him over to the Game of Thrones universe. Aegon the Conqueror. Yeah. Even though it's not something I would necessarily want to see, but he would be perfect for that as well. And for other actors...
I still think Skarsgård would be the best Aegon.
Oh, yeah, that would be actually really fun.
And keep his accent, too. Like, that slightly...
Yeah, it's a Valyrian accent.
Yeah, it'd be so good.
Then they shift.
Then you have Rosamund Pike as just...
But jack him up a little bit.
I mean, in the Northman, he was fucking gigantic.
I need to believe that Balerion would respect him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if it's the Northman one, jeez.
But like Henry Cavill, I look at him and I'm like, yeah, that's somebody who could conquer an entire continent on Dragonback. The way they talk about Aegon, and if you were actually to see Aegon in person, you'd be like, oh yeah, I can see why everybody fucking...
The Conqueror's name, and the Conqueror's sword, and the Conqueror's crown. And it's Henry Cavill?
Right, yeah, it's like, okay.
I'm swearing allegiance to Aegon in a second.
100%, yeah. That is kind of a disgrace that he's got the Conqueror's name. All right, we'll take a few more questions here. This one here from Mr. Jackson Karwowski. He wants to know why the knights in Westeros are always hyped up, but they end up being mid. I feel like a Dothraki, Golden Company mercenary, or Unsullied would mop the floor with these Knights of Summer. Yeah, I think it's because, and it relates to real life, that a lot of people just get knighthoods because it's a deal. It's like, oh, I'm going to do this for you, and then, oh, I'll give you a knighthood. A lot of people don't earn it in Westeros, and you see that time and time again. The way Ned talks about the knights strut around like roosters down here. Was Sir Hugh somebody who could fight a Dothraki? I don't think so. So the Dothraki earn it. The Golden Company, you have to earn it. The Unsullied, you earn it. And some of the knights are great fighters,
No, it depends
but not
on
all.
who.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Vale, Knights of the Vale, like it's a respected position. Although Sir Hugh is technically a Knight of the Vale.
Oh, maybe we're sleeping on Sir Hugh.
Nah, Sir Hugh's fucking whack.
He wasn't that impressive during the tournament. I don't fight in tournaments. Name the character.
Ned Stark.
Oh my god, okay, that's impressive.
Because when I fight a man for real, I don't, you know.
What does he say?
I think it's like, hold on. When I fight a man for real, I don't want him to know what
I can do.
What I can do, yeah. Well said. Yeah. Come on, boy.
God, that first season's so good. Also, I want to just take a moment. People need to lay off of Game of Thrones Season 1. Stop comparing it to other seasons. Respect it.
It was cool, like, when we were talking about, like, House of the Dragon, Season 1 of Thrones, like, which is better. Now that the seasons are over, I don't think you can compare because it's the same world, but you really can't. They're just going for two completely different things.
Right. But I also think people need to realize Game of Thrones Season 1 is arguably the best Season 1 of a television show ever. When we start talking about best Season 1s, what are we talking about? It's better than Breaking Bad Season 1.
Succession, very strong.
Succession's up there. Lost, they say the first season is the best season. I think it's better than the first season of The Wire. I think it's better than the first season of The Sopranos.
Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks is up there. That's when you can really start to argue. But when we talk about the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones
series, which is kind of unfair.
That's unfair. But I think True Detective might be number 1. But when they talk about the first 4 seasons of Thrones are great, Season 1 for me is up there with the quality of the next 3. So, yes, 3 and 4 separate from the pack a little bit. But I love Season 1 of Game of Thrones. And I thought House of the Dragon, good Season 1. But people are so quick to compare everything to Season 1 of Game of Thrones.
That'll be a fun video to do.
You want to do that? Mark that down.
Season 1 of each story. I had to rewatch Season 1 of Thrones. I've seen that season more than any other season of television. Or, I think, any media ever.
I think so for me, too.
It's just so good because, like, it's definitely a tighter story. But, yeah, like I said, they're going for 2 different things. And it's just so unknown, and everything surprises you, and everything's fresh. Like, this world is new for a lot of people, like, especially when you first started watching it without any knowledge of the books. Like, yeah, what was the original question? Knights being overrated. The good knights are good, but yeah, a lot of mid in there.
This question here from N_Amador19. Favorite anime movie? For me, it is definitely Spirited Away.
Yeah, that's like the cliche, but it's one of those cliches that there's a reason why it's a cliche. I obviously haven't seen as many as you have, so probably a better question for you.
What the hell are you doing with your life?
What do you mean?
That's just a general question. I was going to relate it to why you haven't seen more anime movies, but
are you
I'm just
caught up
generally
on My
concerned.
Hero?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, last episode was a doozy.
Really?
A sad episode.
Sad episode?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I've been keeping up with it. I'm waiting for it all to come out. You know what I have been watching? Chainsaw Man.
Yeah.
Good stuff. You'd think that you'd watch it. It's just a man with chainsaws, but it's deep.
Wait a couple weeks for My Hero if you want to wait for that, because I feel like they're still in the middle of like what they're doing now, like from episode 1. So, like in 2 or 3 episodes,
it's gonna wrap up.
Not the season, but like maybe that's just part of the season.
Right. All right, we'll end this question on we'll end this podcast on a good question that relates to the main topic. Better actor, John Cena or The Rock? Pound for pound, it's John Cena. He's just got more range. It's funny to say, but he's better at acting with his face.
He's bad, and like Bumblebee, he's really bad.
Miscast.
No, I think they casted the perfect military type. Like, that's John Cena to a T.
But he's also very goofy. Yeah, he's got the big physique and he's the manly man, but when he's in Peacemaker, there's a goofiness to him they're making fun of him.
John Cena as Peacemaker is better than The Rock in any other performance.
Yes.
I think.
And I think even like The Rock wouldn't be as good in Blockers.
The Rock, like, he's good. I think I enjoy him in like the Central Intelligences and Jumanjis of the world. Because you allow some of that charisma to shine. And that was The Rock in WWE was so popular because of his mic skills, and he was so goddamn charismatic and funny and entertaining, electrifying. He's the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, and he was named that for a reason. I feel like a lot of the roles he gets doesn't have a chance to show just how entertaining he can be. I mean, Skyscraper, just a regular rock classic character. Oh,
Rampage.
I gotta do this thing because I'm the Rock and I'm the tough guy and I can do it. And I need to save my family or something. Well, it's very serious. Loosen up a little.
I know. It's always these movies where I'm the leading man. I'm gonna save the day. I'm gonna always do the right thing. Everyone's on my side, with absolutely no personality besides that. They never let him show that personality that he had that made him such an icon.
Earlier on in his career, I mean, Rundown, Walking Tall, I feel like he got a little of that.
I know, yeah, and it's weird that he hasn't
he's never
embraced...
sexy.
No.
I think we talked about this one time.
We've talked about that. But I think in Fast 5 he is kind of sexy because he's not trying to be. He's just a man who's obsessed with being a cop, and it's sort of funny and ridiculous, but he's a badass. And he's got his guns, and he's got his muscles, and he's oiled up. Yeah. Why don't they... He seems reluctant to embrace the R rating as well. Like I said, when you're talking about what's his iconic performance, the Terminator or Rambo, he won't do that. He won't let himself be in a movie where he's ripping heads off.
Dude, Arnold Schwarzenegger had zero acting talent. They looked at him, it's like, this guy is probably the biggest, most muscular, handsome person I've ever seen. He has to be a star. But he can't act. You know, he has this funny accent. You know, he's just like this big meathead guy. Conan the Barbarian, Terminator. Like, we'll make it work. He just fits these roles. Let's put him in there, and everything else around it we'll figure out. Oh, let's put James Cameron. He'll get the most out of him. And he's a fucking icon.
They were like, wait, he can't act? You know what? Let's not give him any lines.
Let's
make him a robot.
Let's make this bloody fucking gruesome movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger fighting an alien.
It's not hard. They could just literally, at this point, they could just remake Predator with The Rock. Hollywood would be fine.
But it would be weird.
No, but you could do the same thing. He's just a military guy against a Predator.
But I'm saying, like, this version of the Predator, like, he'll have a family that was killed by the Predator.
Oh, yeah, sure. No, it'll be like, he'll try and befriend the Predator.
PG-13.
Yeah. They won't let The Rock be great. That's why when he keeps talking about running for president, I'm like, bro, you don't have an iconic role yet. You haven't earned that.
Get yourself a T2.
Yeah, seriously. I'm like, bro, you're running out of time to come out with an iconic role before you're president. Holy shit. Kevin Hart's press secretary. All right, guys, that does it for the Nerd Soup podcast for today.
I can't do a good Kevin Hart.
I thought you were going to do a Kevin Hart impression.
Listen, Rock. I don't know what the situation would be that he'd have to come out so hard.
All right, guys, that does it for this episode of the Nerd Soup podcast. Thank you so much for listening, for liking, for sharing. Hope you're doing all that. And subscribing and putting on your notifications.
I was going to have Jack Black come in as, like...
Bowser?
No, just, like, Secretary of, like, Education or whatnot. But then I realized I'm just casting Jumanji as his cabinet.
Yeah, Karen Gillan, First Lady. They do have a little romance there. All right, yeah, we'll see you next week. Hopefully, we'll come out with another podcast. We got some House of the Dragon videos coming out for the rest of the week, and some Game of Thrones revisited stuff that we're working on. We got a lot of soup in the kitchen. So
it's getting cold. So
get it while it's shit. Yeah. We got to reheat it.
No, like outside, so it's soup season.
Oh shit, yeah, it is. I'm actually about to go make some soup.
Nice. You got to drive me home first because my car.
Oh fuck yeah! Look at that. You just killed my vibe. Now I'm gonna get McDonald's. Blaming that on you.
Fair. Wow, that was probably our best review yet. Hey guys, Aaron the Nerd Soup Monkey here with a brief shameless plug before we end the video. Do you ever feel like you don't have an adequate amount of nerd soup in your life? Like you're going to bed hungry and yearning for the nonsensical yet entertaining nutrients our podcasts provide? Well, we've come up with the perfect solution. The Nerd Soup Fan Question Podcasts, exclusively available to our Patreon supporters. You can sign up now by visiting patreon.com/nerdsoup, and for the price of only $1 per month, you'll receive exclusive access to our weekly podcast, where we answer your questions that don't make it to the main show. And while you're there, you can check out the other rewards we offer to our patrons, like stickers, mugs, t-shirts, behind-the-scenes footage, and appearing in the credits at the end of our videos. And that's exactly what we're gonna do right now. Roll the names of the nerds who make Nerd Soup possible. The reason why the crypto crash didn't send our lives spiraling down a black hole of no return. Alright, I'll stop talking so you can listen to this jazzy-ass music while checking if Bo spelt your name wrong in the credits.